The Galactic Naval Academy's simulation bay hummed with the low thrum of quantum processors as Cadet Marcus Chen adjusted his helmet for the 5th time. Around him, his classmates from a dozen different species chatted excitedly, their voices a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and synthesized translations. "Look at the human," sneered Vextar, his chitinous mandibles clicking with amusement. The Zephyrian's compound eyes glittered as he gestured toward Marcus, still checking his equipment like it's going to save him. The other cadets laughed, a sound that ranged from the melodic trills of the Etherean twins to the guttural barks of Krog, the massive Ursoid. Marcus kept his eyes on his console, fingers dancing across the holographic interface with practiced precision. "Humans," muttered Silneth, her serpentine form coiling elegantly around her simulator pod. Always so methodical, so slow. No wonder their species took so long to reach the stars. Commander Thalix, a weathered Centaurian with scars crisscrossing his blue-scaled hide, stepped into the chamber. His forearms moved in complex patterns as he addressed the class through the universal translator. "Today's scenario is the Kepler Station incident," he announced, his voice carrying the weight of real experience. "A diplomatic convoy carrying representatives from all major species is under attack by unknown hostiles. Your mission: evacuate all civilians and military personnel while maintaining defensive positions. You have 1 hour." The simulator pod sealed with pneumatic hisses. Marcus closed his eyes and took a deep breath as the neural interface connected. When he opened them again, he stood on the bridge of the UGS Meridian, alarms blaring around him. In the other simulators, his classmates had already sprung into action. Vextar was barking orders in rapid succession, deploying fighters in aggressive attack formations. The Etherean twins moved their forces in perfect synchronization, creating elaborate defensive matrices. Krog charged headlong into the enemy formation, his massive dreadnoughts blazing with weapons fire. Marcus stood quietly for a moment, watching the tactical display. The station hung in space like a wounded animal, sections venting atmosphere while enemy ships, sleek, predatory things of unknown design, darted between the superstructure like sharks. His classmates' rescue ships were already taking heavy casualties. While others rushed toward glory, Marcus began with logistics. He pulled up evacuation protocols, studied the station's blueprint, calculated capacity loads and transit times. His first orders weren't to weapons stations but to engineering. "Divert all power from non-essential systems to transporters and shields," he said calmly. "Prepare emergency medical bays on decks 7 through 12. His tactical officer, an AI construct that responded to his commands, looked puzzled. "Sir, shouldn't we engage the enemy first?" "The mission is evacuation," Marcus replied, fingers flying over the control surface. "Everything else is secondary." While his classmates fought pitched battles in space, Marcus began a careful dance. His ships approached the station from multiple vectors, but not to attack, to create evacuation corridors. He used the station's own defensive systems as cover, timing his movements to minimize exposure. The enemy ships were fast, heavily armed, and seemed to anticipate conventional tactics. Vextar lost half his fleet in the first 10 minutes. The Etherean twins' elegant formations crumbled under focused fire. Even Krog's brute force approach was failing against enemies that refused to stand and fight. But Marcus wasn't fighting conventionally. While others chased the enemy ships, he was quietly evacuating sections of the station. His transporter teams worked methodically. Medical personnel first, then civilians, then non-essential military. He used damaged sections as decoys, making the enemy think they'd eliminated escape routes while his real evacuation ships worked elsewhere. 20 minutes in, something changed. The enemy ships began targeting evacuation craft more aggressively. Marcus watched the pattern, analyzed their response times, their targeting priorities. "They're not random raiders," he murmured to himself. "They're hunting someone specific." He pulled up the diplomatic manifest, cross-referencing it with the enemy attack patterns. There, Ambassador Kethlin of the Hegemony Worlds, currently in the station's diplomatic quarters. The attacks intensified whenever rescue ships approached that section. Marcus made a decision that would have horrified his instructors. Instead of rushing to evacuate the ambassador, he waited. He continued pulling people from other sections, making it look like routine evacuation while carefully monitoring the enemy's positions. Then, with 15 minutes left, he made his move. While the enemy focused on what they thought was another rescue attempt, Marcus slipped a single small transport through a debris field. No weapons, minimal shields, practically invisible. It docked with the diplomatic section for exactly 37 seconds, just long enough to transport one very important passenger. The enemy ships converged on the last transport, destroying it in a brilliant flash. Marcus watched impassively as his classmates cursed in their various languages, thinking the ambassador was dead. But the ambassador was already aboard Marcus's command ship, safely hidden among the medical refugees. The enemy, thinking their primary target eliminated, began to withdraw. In the final minutes, Marcus evacuated the last of the station's personnel. As the simulation ended, his screen showed the results. 2,847 people evacuated. 0 casualties. The simulator pods opened to stunned silence. Around the bay, displays showed the other cadets' results. Vexitar had saved 203 people with 94 casualties. The Etherian twins managed 1,456 with 67 losses. Even Krog, despite his aggressive approach, had only evacuated 890 people. Commander Thalix approached Marcus's pod, his forearms crossed. "Explain your methodology, Cadet." Marcus stood slowly, removing his helmet. "The mission was evacuation, sir. Everything else was distraction." "You let the enemy destroy an entire transport," accused Vextar, his mandibles clicking angrily. "The ambassador was safe," Marcus interrupted quietly. "Aboard my command ship. The destroyed transport was a decoy." The silence that followed was profound. Commander Thalix studied the tactical playback, his scarred face unreadable. "This scenario was based on an actual incident," the commander said finally. "The Kepler Station massacre. In reality, we lost about 600 people, including 3 ambassadors. The enemy was never identified, and we learned too late that they were hunting specific targets." He paused, looking directly at Marcus. "No one has ever achieved a 100% survival rate in this simulation." Vexitar's compound eyes focused on Marcus with new respect. "How did you know about the targeting pattern?" Marcus shrugged, a very human gesture that somehow conveyed both humility and confidence. "I watched. You were all fighting the battle you wanted to fight, not the battle that was actually happening." Silneth uncoiled from her pod, her serpentine head tilting in what passed for curiosity among her species. "But you're so quiet. We thought you were weak." "Humans have a saying," Marcus replied, gathering his equipment with the same methodical care he'd shown at the beginning. "Still waters run deep. Sometimes the quietest voice in the room has the most important thing to say." As the other cadets filed out, chattering excitedly about the simulation, Commander Thalix approached Marcus one final time. "That was exceptional tactical thinking, Cadet. Where did you learn to think like that?" Marcus smiled, an expression that didn't quite translate across species but somehow conveyed warmth universally. "My grandmother was a nurse during the colony wars. She always said the most important skill in any crisis isn't knowing how to fight. It's knowing what you're fighting for." The commander nodded slowly. "Perhaps there's more to human military doctrine than we realized." As Marcus left the simulation bay, he could hear his classmates discussing the exercise behind him, their voices filled with a new respect. The quiet cadet had spoken and the entire galaxy had listened. Sometimes, it seemed, the humans' greatest strength wasn't their aggression or their technology. It was their ability to see what others missed, to find solutions where others saw only problems, and to remain calm when everyone else was losing their heads. In the depths of space, that kind of thinking didn't just win battles, it saved lives.